Special Educational Assistance Foundation. So the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and what that means for student financial aid. So I've heard a few other aliases that they call it by. My favorite is Triple B. So we're going to be calling it the Triple B. That's what I'll be referring to it as today. So the Triple B was signed into law July 4th, 2025. There are big Title IV changes that are going to be in effect July 2026. So our seniors that are graduating this year will be seeing those changes. We don't know what they all are yet, but we're still learning about them. The FAFSA will launch on October 1st, though, so that's a good win for us. There was some Pell funding that was given for this fiscal year to protect Pell, but again, next year there are some risks that might happen. And then there were some FAFSA updates and other verification as far as financial aid offices that will help students and families and everybody involved. So again, the major FAFSA highlights that take effect July 1st, 2026, but in order to accommodate those, the form for the FAFSA did have to get changed this year. So one thing we saw is the gender question. Non-binary is no longer an option. Again, these questions aren't verified. So students can put what they feel. They're never going to have to prove. The asset exemptions. So we had mentioned before, as far as assets for small businesses, family farms, commercial fisheries, it has changed. So it might affect some of our students here in this community. Pell eligibility. So there was a change for the SAI. There were some students that were, they called it asset rich but low income. So they had high assets, but they had no income for their family, and they were still getting Pell Grant, even though they had an SAI of like 14,000. So now the max is 14,000 for SAI. If you have a 14,000 SAI, you're not gonna get Pell Grant, which is not really a surprise, but just something that did change. The FAFSA simplification, the calculation changed, so it kind of switched up some people, and people were getting Pell that weren't eligible before. So they did change that. Foreign income will now be included in AGI. There's a question, do you have foreign income? Sometimes students don't know what they're saying, so they just put a number in there. They should not put anything because it will affect their AGI, it'll affect the amount of money that they'll get, so just something to consider. And then lastly, the real-time identity and social security verification is really gonna help us. We don't have to have an FSAID night and a FAFSA night, we can get it all done in one. And it is supposed to include parents who do not have a social. So they should not have to wait 3 days, even through the TransUnion. There are always errors. There's always people entering information wrong. So there might be some, but for the most part, they should all be instantly verified. And these are some operational impacts that the universities will see. So Parent Plus limits have changed. I did not put the limits on there, but just so you know, there are loans that parents can get for students. Those limits have changed. Loan repayment has changed. So income-based repayment plans are now moving to something called a repayment assistant plan. So this is not really for our high school students, but for you all. Just something to consider. If you have student loans, please look into your stuff because things are changing. There was something called Workforce Pell. So some programs, certificates, short-term programs that are like 8 weeks, less than 16 weeks, they were not eligible for Title IV aid. They will now be eligible. The universities still have to go through the process of getting them approved, so it's not right now, but things are coming where students can do certificate programs, possibly trade programs, and get Title IV aid. Student loans. So again, this is more for you, not really our students that are graduating high school. Public service loan forgiveness is protected, it stays in place. Anything you qualified for is there still. So that is good news. Don't know about you all, but I'm hoping to get those loans forgiven. I've already forgiven myself, but just waiting for the government. So repayment assistant plan is what you need to enroll in. That's the new income-based repayment plan. They're not very forgiving, apparently. If you fall out of your plan, if you forget to recertify, there can be issues. So just keep an eye on that for yourselves. Again, Parent Plus loans have changed. There is no more Grad Plus loans, and then graduate loans and professional loan limits have changed as well. And that is just some of it. There's a huge amount of things happening with the BBB, but these are just some highlights I wanted to share. So Pell, of course, the most important one. So $10.5 billion was added to protect Pell. So it's safe this year, but again, we don't know what changes are going to come July 2026. So one big thing that I know everybody is kind of thinking about is the last dollar Pell. So it is saying that students who receive grants or scholarships from non-federal sources covering their entire cost of attendance are going to be ineligible to receive the Pell Grant, even if they were otherwise eligible. Yes. So what this means is if students have a full ride scholarship that covers their entire cost of attendance. Remember, cost of attendance is not tuition. Cost of attendance, $30,000 or more. They are not going to be eligible for the Pell Grant. This is not our lottery and opportunity people. These are our Daniel Scholars, the Gates Millennial, athletes. So just keep that in mind. And we don't know for sure, but this is something that's on the horizon. And then here's some more references. Again, we're going to share these slides with all of you. But I didn't want to take a whole lot of time with federal updates. Heavy topic. I know you guys have gotten a lot of information. But we do have time for some question and answer, and there's my contact information there as well. So if anyone has questions about the Pell Grant or the scholarships or anything like that, please feel free to shout it out. And again, just to reinforce, our lottery and opportunity folks are probably not going to be impacted, especially at the 4 years, possibly some 2 years if they have really low cost of attendance and students have other scholarships, but it's really not going to be those students. It's going to be the ones who are getting those high dollar scholarships. So it does suck because they used your Pell, but I mean, it's just kind of in the situation that they're going to be in, whether they want to take this full ride scholarship for $30,000 plus or take the Pell Grant. So those conversations are just something to be aware of. Again, reach out to financial aid offices, reach out to us if you have questions.